Good evening, good afternoon, good day, wherever you are. I am Dr. Quita Weir Roberts. Thank you for joining the Friendly Counselor segment tonight. We will be discussing anxiety and learning some tips on how we can manage and cope with anxiety, especially during these times. Most of us are aware that there are a lot of hard times all around the world, including the US, where we are. And with these type of days and times, adversities, many of us worry a lot. We have intense fears about uncertainties, and it's only natural that we do. So please invite somebody, share this live, invite a friend, and join me for the conversation. I like to share that we cannot control the world that we live in, but we can control how we cope with it. So, what will we be discussing tonight? Basically, how do you strengthen your sense of personal control? Learning good coping skills and practicing the skills that you need to kind of help you manage those emotions. So, when we talk about good coping skills, we are talking about good well being, happiness. We're talking about ways that you will find pleasure and meaning to life. So, go ahead and share this live, invite your friends, and let's wait for a few more folks to come on. Again, if you're just joining, thank you for joining the Friendly Counselor live stream. We are discussing everything anxiety. How do we learn to cope with anxious thoughts, especially during this time? So, let's talk about good coping skills. Good coping skills implies personal control that lets you achieve whatever it is that is important to you. Good coping skills also means that recognizing your strengths and giving yourself the space to just be, recognizing those strengths and, of course, weaknesses. So I hear, I forget, I see, I remember, I do, I understand, I practice, I mastered all of these things. And one way that we will learn to practice that tonight is through mindfulness. We're going to discuss different ways to learn to cope. So when we talk about good coping skills, I want us to learn something tonight, right? So let's talk about being optimistic. When somebody say, "Are you thinking optimistically? Are you thinking in a positive mindset?" That is the bottom line of being optimistic. Thinking about positive changes that's going to happen. So right now, if you are in the United States, you're seeing everything that is happening with ICE. And of course, if you are an immigrant, the first thing that comes across your mind is fear. I'm afraid of either myself or somebody that I know, a neighbor, a friend, even somebody I may not be close with. Somebody knows somebody who has been arrested, harassed, killed by ICE. You don't even need to know personally, collectively, America as a whole. We see what's happening around the United States. We saw what happened in Minnesota. Two persons have been killed already. And if you are in any of these states and live in those areas where ICE is very heavy there, it reminds you of a lot of uncertainty and it's very traumatic. Traumatic to those individuals who have gone through civil war, such as many Liberians who struggled through civil war during the Liberian Civil War. We know that the army they were fighting around the between the army and the rebels. So a lot of civil unrest. So not knowing what tomorrow is going to be like for you, those type of uncertainties, not knowing whether or not you're going to be harassed by ICE, Even if you are a citizen, even if you have legal documents, these are things that we all can be bothered by. So, how do we learn those active coping skills, those good coping skills? We want to be optimistic in our thinking, practical about the kinds of solutions that we are looking to find. Locking yourself up in your house until this whole ordeal is gone is not practical, right? So some people are so afraid and they don't want to leave their home, rightfully so. It makes a lot of sense. However, you cannot lock yourself up in your home and not get food, water, whatever, because you're afraid. There are other ways of getting these things. So let's find feasible, practical ways. And then we want to be flexible in our approach. When it comes to any problem, flexibility is the key. If your mindset is very rigid, that's a problem because when you think in that mindset that is very rigid, there are no gray areas. Things are either good or bad, black or white. And we know that is a thinking mistake because nothing is black and white. Things never remain the same. So we need to be able to learn not to get stuck in that mindset, that black and white thinking. People are either good or bad. We can apply this to people. We don't understand that a person can be good at times and other times they can be bad, right? Because people make mistakes. So we need to be flexible when it comes to learning to cope. And this is with anything that we have to cope with. So flexibility and then being resourceful, right? Finding that resourcefulness, finding support and utilizing your support. So I gave the example of not locking yourself in your house in an event where you may think that nobody understands where I am, or I am afraid to go out because ICE is there. Well, maybe that's the time that you want to use your resources. You may want to call a friend who knows a friend that might be able to get you some groceries in the house. Maybe you're afraid that, your status is not one that you should be out there, and that's okay. However, we want to be able to utilize our resources. So good coping, you do not feel helpless or hopeless. If you are coping with any situation and you still feel helpless or you still feel hopeless, then certainly that is not good coping mechanisms. So we want to think about being mindful. What is mindfulness? Mindfulness is simply that state of being where you are attentive. You are paying attention. You are attentive to what's happening around you. You are aware of what's happening around you. You are not zoomed out, right? Because we want to be able to know, we want to be able to pay attention. We want to be connected to what is happening around us. So when we are mindful, we are paying attention to all of these things that is happening around us. We are here, we are present, we are putting our mind to what we are doing, right? So it's important to do that because it helps us to link to many good coping skills, increasing our overall well-being, increasing our mental health, of course, and it helps us to eliminate those unhealthy behaviors. So that is exactly the reasons why we do want to make sure that we are exercising some good coping skills. It's important that we do that. So how do we do this? Awareness to healing is very important. So, making sure that awareness itself is healing. When we know that we are doing something and it's something that is not positive for us, and we have that awareness, more than likely we will work towards changing it, or we should work towards changing that. So if you know there are things that is not working for you and you are aware, there are some behavior methods that can be utilized to change that. So being mindful, we talk about seeking support. You don't have to suffer alone. Some people feel that they don't want others to know about what's happening. They're embarrassed about what's happening. They don't want people to know their business. And so, what ends up going on is that they're suffering alone. They're suffering in silence. And that is not a good way to cope, right? So we can talk to a friend, a relative, a professional. You can let your feelings out somehow, any way that will be beneficial for you. Some people may sing, some people may dance, some people may write in their journal, whatever ways that you may find that is helpful to let it out. The whole idea is to let it out, don't hold it in. And if at all you cannot trust a friend, family member, there are professionals out there. There are professionals who will be willing to give you a listening ear. And I want to highlight that, especially with what's happening now in the United States. We see what's happening in Minnesota. There are so many free mental health lines that you can call. People are willing to just assist you, just to listen to you. They don't need to know your name. They don't need to know, you know, about what's happening. Sometimes they will just listen to you. So, looking at some positive ways when we talk about coping, what are some positive ways? We want to look at the silver lining, right? Let's look at the silver lining. The silver lining here is, what is the good in all of this? So I'm alive today. I woke up this morning. I still have food to eat. I still have a job. So we want to be able to look at the silver lining. We want to change and grow as a person in a good way. If you still are where you were 5 years ago, maybe a year ago, 2 years ago, and you have not done any growing, then of course that's a concern, because we should be growing. And if we are growing, then there will be changes in our day to day lives. So, when we go through something such as illnesses, we want to look at that as a challenge. We don't want to look at that as, this is the end of my life, this is the end of me, but we want to see that as a challenge. And how do we handle challenges? We need to look at positive ways to manage those challenges. And many times there are things about us that we don't like. And if you find something about your life that you may not like, change it. Instead of sitting and complaining about it, change it. Do something about it. How do we find positive coping mechanisms if we are not ready to change those ineffective ways about us? So you're sitting and worrying about a situation. Absolutely nothing comes out of worry. It causes more stress, it causes more anxiety, and sometimes even it causes some physical illnesses. So you are watching the news, and on the news you're watching how the president is sending ICE to collect people, and people are dying, and your anxiety is going up the roof. Well, that's your key to turn the television off, because it's not working for you. It's time to take a break. I know that you want to be aware, but we also want to know when something is too much for us. So we want to be able to turn off the television and give ourselves a break. And so come up with different solutions. What are some different solutions that you can come with to help you? Now, let me talk about denying. When we start to deny or avoid the problem, that is not a good way to cope. It might be for a time being where you can get through the situation, but in the long run, it is not going to work out for you. So instead of denying, trying to keep your feelings to yourself, or try to forget about the whole thing. Sometimes people say, I'm just going to go to sleep and pretend like none of this has happened, right? You find people who maybe went through really bad breakups and they don't want to deal with it, or they went through separation, divorce, and separation, and the reality hurts. And because that reality hurts for them, they do not want to face the reality. So they deny that it's happening. They refuse to believe that whatever is happening. Or there are times that we prepare for the worst. We tell ourselves that I know this is going to be worse than it is. And so we prepare for the worst, when in fact, the situation that you're going through is not as bad as you have made it to be. And that is not a good way to cope. So many times we may say, I'm not going to let it get to me. Some people may engage in smoking, drinking. Those are all ineffective way of coping. Some worry and they wish that the situation will go away, but in fact it does not go away, and you're worrying about the situation and it's not going away. So that is not an effective way to cope. Know your coping styles. How can we change something if we don't know about it? So we want to be able to know our coping styles and know how to avoid it, right? So, are you an avoidant person when you find yourself in crisis? Do you avoid the crisis, or you are somebody who is vigilant? You want to find more information about it. You want to find the best solution. Like I said, the silver lining. How can I find this through, and how can I make sure that this happens for me? So that's being vigilant. If that is your coping style, you are active trying to seek help. Somebody who is avoidant, they prefer not to think about it. They don't want to deal with it. They probably go to bed um, and wake up the next morning and still worry about whether or not this situation is happening. So we want to know our coping style. What is your coping style? So recognize that there's no thought or feeling that is wrong within itself. It's what we do with those thoughts and feelings, right? Now, that counts. So if you are worried about something, what are you going to do about it? Are you going to change it, or you're going to sit there and allow it to be more stressful for you? So, what are you going to do with those emotions? If you are experiencing fatigue, you're feeling overwhelmed, you are disturbed, you are maybe losing interest in those things that you usually do, be aware of your body and how your body is responding during times of crises. It is so important that we are aware of our bodies and what's happening during those times. So if you are tired all of the time, you you might need to focus on what is it that my body, my physical body, is showing in these times. So, doing things each day that is going to help to nurture you and not drain you. So, I mentioned earlier turning the television off. Is if that is draining for you, that is exactly what you don't want to do. You are part of this partnership, and it is your responsibility to make sure that you are honest about the way you feel for yourself. Many times when we find ourselves in these situations and people ask us how you're doing, we are quick to say, "Oh, I'm okay. Everything is fine," when indeed it's not. So it is your responsibility to be honest with yourself, to make sure that you can work to solve those problems. Develop that love and respect for yourself. If you won't lie to other people about situations, why would you lie to yourself about what's happening? So, thinking about that, making sure that we are honest to ourselves and develop that love relationship for ourselves. So, good coping skills is good problem solving, right? So, we talked about how do we problem solve. So, let's start with the way that you think. Um, there is a quote by William James that says the greatest discovery of my generation is that human beings can alter their lives by changing their minds. This is great because you have the power to change your thinking. You have the power to change your mind. And so if things are going in a way that you know for a fact These are negative thoughts that are flowing through your mind during this time of crisis, and it's overpowering you. Then we want to change that. You have the ability to change that. Now, what happens when you have that avoidant coping style that I talked about? You actually believe that you don't have the power to do any of that. And so you fall completely flat to it because in your mind, you have no control to change it. And that can be very dangerous for you. So, paying attention to what is it I need to do? How can I change this? Let's start to think about the ways that you cope emotionally. So when you accept that emotionality, meaning the fact, thoughts, and the feelings, what happens? Well, I have been watching the news, and the fact is that ICE is all over the place. That's a fact. The fact is that they're killing people. That's a fact. The fact is that people are being harassed, whether or not you have documents. That's a fact. So all of these things are true. All of these things are facts. So let's change it to something else. I'm going to lose my job and I don't know what to do, or I'm going to lose this relationship and I don't know how I will survive. All of that is a fact. Now that we have established the facts, what can we do? Because that's what we want to do. So then we have these thoughts, right? And then, of course, after the thoughts, we have the feelings. So I feel overwhelmed. That's the thoughts that's coming to my mind. I'm so afraid. I feel overwhelmed. I feel frustrated. I feel hopeless because there's nothing I can do. I feel powerless. I feel like I have no power. I have no control over of what I'm doing. So then what do you feel? You feel sad, right? Those are the feelings. So the fact, maybe you had a friend that passed away and you don't know how to deal with this because the friend died and you know that you won't be able to speak to this person anymore. That's a fact. Well, what happened if the thought that came to your mind is, oh my goodness, I didn't speak to this friend before they passed and I feel guilty. That's a thought. I didn't speak to that person before they die and I feel very guilty about that. So now, what's the feeling behind that? You feel guilty, you feel frustrated, you feel angry. So understand that your feelings are in direct relation to those thoughts. So that's how we need to learn to cope with some of these crises. Do not generalize everything that is happening around you. I know Liberians as a whole, when we get ourselves into crisis, everything around us starts to fall apart. If your child says something to you, oh, shut up. Can you see what's happening around the world? And you're sitting here talking, so that child doesn't even care about what's going on. But because everything around us emotionally falls apart. So let's learn to box it. Okay, I'm upset, I'm frustrated, I'm angry because of what's happening in the world right now with ICE or with the issues with immigration or all of what's happening in America, in Liberia, poverty, can eat, can find a job, all of these things. So we want to be able to practice some questions asking yourself, is this a fact? First and foremost, am I dying? Okay, so ICE is in the area, it's true, but am I going to die? Because you said to yourself, oh, ICE is in the area, definitely they're going to get me, I'm going to die. Is this true? We want to really try to now separate your thoughts. Is this facts? Is this true? So if it's not true, what can I do to change it? Maybe no, ICE is not coming to kill me. ICE is killing other people, but it's not necessarily coming to kill me. So there's a possibility and there's a probability. So is there a possibility? Maybe. Depends on where you're living, right? So we need to, again, what is truth? What is factual? So I'm not in any area where ICE is active. So maybe they're not active where I am. Okay, that's a fact. So I need to be a little flexible in that. However, I do feel sad looking at what's happening around America. So that collective grief that I'm experiencing because of what America, the nation is experiencing. So this is a feeling. So then I want to ask myself, is this a feeling? Is this a fact? It's not a fact. Is this a thought? Yes, it's a thought. Because nationwide, there is a lot of crises, not necessarily in my neighborhood, but because it's nationwide. So this is a thought that I have formed in my mind, and it is not a pleasant thought. I want to get rid of it. So, what do I need to do? I don't have personal control. I have lost that sense of personal control. So, making sure that we're changing our thoughts, and you hear a lot of psychologists, therapists use the word as reframing. What does that mean? We want to reframe our thoughts. So, that's just tricking my brain, right? From the negative way that it was thinking, I want to switch that to a positive way of thinking. So I want to reframe. That's a psychological therapeutic word that we use a lot. Reframe your thinking. So let's say if you were to close your eyes and imagine that you're in a kitchen, right? Free tip. Close your eyes, imagine that you are in a kitchen. You find a lemon and you notice the color of it. So I find a lemon and it's yellow, right? I feel the weight of the lemon is very light. I squeeze it. I feel the size, the shape, the texture, and everything. And then I bring it to the table and then I put a wooden cutting board on it. And what am I going to do? I get a sharp knife and I'm cutting that lemon into half. Remember now, your eyes are closed, okay? And you are imagining all of this, all right? So you smell it. Mm, it smells very fresh. It smells very potent. You smell all of that. Now you bring that to your mouth and taste. So as I'm doing it, I'm salivating. You're supposed to feel that. You can feel the taste in your mouth. So what did you just do? You just actually trick your brain for thinking that it can taste a lemon and you actually tasted it because as I'm saying this, guess what? I am salivating. So we trick our brain. Okay, now let's go back to that friend who died and you are having all of these thoughts. Could it be possible that yes, it's true that person died, but if you want to make amends with them, you may not physically be able to do that, but you can still do it to get that closure that you need. Okay, similar to ice. So we can say the same thing about I want to close my eyes. Imagine what happens to me if ice was to come over here. So you kind of like work your brain from the negative to the positive. That is how we will reframe. So let's talk about even, for example, traffic jam. Imagine that you're caught in a traffic jam, right? And you probably gonna make it late for work. You will be upset if you are stuck in traffic. You could choose to think this is the worst day of my life. Everything is gonna fall apart. I just knew it. I don't even know why. I came to do this. I understand this. I mean, we can think the absolute negative about what is going to happen. But we can also shift and reframe our mindset. So you can choose to think that this situation is outside of my control. I have no control over the traffic jam. I am hoping that my boss will understand. I'm hoping that I will, get them to see that I didn't do this purposely. Put a nice music on, enjoy your music, or you may call somebody, have a good conversation, or listen to a book or what have you until you get to where you're going. It's all about mindset and how we shift our mindset. How do we cope? And there is something we call distorted thinking. Distorted thinking is so important because many research has shown that when we categorize our brains into negative thinking, negative thoughts, it's not helpful for you. So when you are in a crisis situation and you are looking for the worst to absolutely happen to you, guess what? You will probably find yourself leaning down that path of something worse happening to you, because that's what you have already made yourself to believe, that nothing good is going to happen. So I might as well. Some people even give up in situations where people find themselves sick and they are on, like life support. There have been many research that has proven that our thinking, shifting from a negative to a positive mindset, has a great significant role in our healing. And so we must pay attention to this. When we have this distorted way that we think, where everything happens negatively, distorted thinking, we think we have about the facts in our lives. We have labeled these things as distorted thinking. So, the value of labeling them in this way is really to identify what is happening and then to change it. We want to be able to change it. So, what are some distorted ways to think? All or nothing. People are either bad or they're good. There's no in between. I don't know if you have ever met somebody who is always bad or always good. That's a distorted way of thinking. So, oh, I know things are always bad for me. Or I know, things will never be good for me. First of all, if you use that word never, take that out of your dictionary. Things are always never one way. Sometimes things are one way, and then there are times that it's another way. So we generalize. Everything is generalized. Everybody is put in a box. We disqualify the positive. You see positive things happening in your life, but you push it aside because you want to focus on the negative. Many of us may know people like that, where they are always so negative. And if you even try to put a positive spin on something, they always tell you, well, what is wrong with you? Why are you so why are you so unreal, or why do you want to be fake? It's not that you want to be fake, it's because you like to look at the positive side of things. You have more of an optimistic view of life versus having a distorted view of life. And sometimes your upbringing, the family that you were raised in, mom and dad may have that negative view of life, and that's sometimes how they view life, their worldview. And you growing up in that environment, you come into a marriage, you come into a home, into a relationship, you bring that with you. So it is so important that we want to check that. We want to check that when we find that we are exhibiting those distorted tendencies, we want to be able to stop it. When we use should, I should have, could have, would have, these are all things that we need to be able to check. Because if you are constantly telling your spouse, or you should have been this way, or you could have done this better, what can they do for you that is going to satisfy you? Nothing they can ever do will satisfy you, because your mind is distorted and everything in your mindset is at a level of should have, could have. It is almost impossible to reach to that realistic way of seeing life. And so we personalize things, right? Distorted thinking, we personalize things. Everything is about me. Oh, I walk into a room and I say hello. Nobody spoke to me. They must have a problem with me. What is their problem? What do they think? Were they gossiping about me? Did they not think that, I will come and see? So, yeah, we make it about us. Or maybe I walk in that room and I said hello, and they were already in a conversation. And because they were in a conversation, they didn't hear me. Therefore, they didn't hear what I had to say. But instead of me thinking, well, maybe they didn't hear me, I automatically assumed that they were talking about me or they were gossiping about me. So, how do we change that? Understand that you have a choice. We all have a choice. And you can control the way that you feel. You can control the way that you feel by the way that you think. That's your power. That's your power. If you don't get anything from this discussion tonight, I want you to understand that you have a choice to either think negatively or positively. It's all up to you. So you can control the way that you think by first accepting and acknowledging how you feel. I feel overwhelmed. I feel afraid. There's a lot happening around me right now. It is scaring me. I feel like I'm losing control. Acknowledge it. There's nothing wrong with you acknowledging it. And because you acknowledge it doesn't mean something is going to happen. So let's acknowledge it. Okay. And then your emotions are neither right or wrong. Remember, those emotions happens natural to, or it's a response that is natural to what's happening around you. So be aware of that alien, that unrealistic way of thinking, and that we feel, especially within our culture, the Liberian culture, you're not supposed to express any emotions. So all of these things that's happening, if you say, oh, I'm so afraid, oh, I'm so scared, oh, why are you afraid? You shouldn't be scared. You're too grown to be afraid. You should go through these things. Am I human? We have feelings, we have the need to express these feelings. If I'm holding all of this inside because I am in a culture, I'm in a relationship where it's not safe to have these discussions, I don't feel safe. And that's why most people end up holding it inside, because they don't have environments, they don't have spaces where they feel safe, where they can let out all of these things, they can purge all of these things. So I want to know how I feel. I want to acknowledge how I feel. And I want to be able to remember this, that every feeling has a thought behind it. My feeling didn't just come. Before I started feeling this way, there was an event, something happened, and it was followed by my thoughts. And then I started to feel, right? So if you have paper, write that down. Event, thoughts, and then feelings. So it's so important to go back. When you start to feel anxious about something, ask yourself, what was the event that happened? What happened? Okay, I was watching the news. I was watching the news, and I noticed as I started to watch the news, my heart started pounding. That was the event. Okay, so we want to be able to pay attention. Maybe I got on the phone and I was talking to a friend and it told me that they're laying people off, and that made me very anxious. So now the event was a conversation. Well, maybe I am running late for work and I'm stuck in traffic, and I have been warned by my boss that if I show up to work late again, I'm going to be written up. And I don't want to be written up for the fourth time. So we want to pay attention to what's happening so that we can keep it in check, right? So, what is your attitude to all of this? Is your attitude necessarily positive? Is it negative? Is it a sense of connection? What do you have for something bigger than yourself? What is your attitude about it? And then we talked about having choice. One of the way that we can change our attitude is through our self-talk. What do you say to yourself? Having that negative self-talk will deep you deeper in the hole. Deeper, deeper, deeper in the hole. So your self-talk is another way that you can control and modify your thoughts. What you say to yourself, the Bible talks about that. Be very careful with the mind in you, what you think. It's so powerful that our thinking are in alignment with what God says, and also with positive thinking, right? So here are some positive self-talks that you can practice to prepare for stress. You want to say to yourself, I have succeeded through this before. I have tried this before and I was successful through this. What exactly do I have to do? I know what I need to do. I need to focus. So you kind of like put in your mind in that myself to focus, right? I know I can handle each of these tasks. I've done it before. So once I start it, it's going to get easy for me. I'm going to be able to do it, right? I'm going to jump into it right away. And so these are situations where you are stressed about the work ahead of you. It may be schoolwork, it may be a project that you are working on, it may be that book that you have to write, it may be something that you're doing. All of these things, of course, comes with level of stress. Maybe it's a conversation that you need to have with a friend that you dread, you don't want to. Maybe it's a trip that you have to travel on and you don't like to fly. So it can be anything. So reminding yourself that I will not allow negative thoughts to creep in. I'm going to control my negative thoughts. I'm going to do everything I can in my power to control these negative thoughts. So you're facing a challenge. Remind yourself that you can take it one step at a time. There is no need to rush. You can do this, and you are starting with your best foot right now, right? You can get help if you need to. You don't have to go through it by yourself. It's okay to make mistakes. So, where is the fear coming in? There is an end to all of this. It's not going to last forever. When we see what's happening with ICE and we are anxious and we are afraid, we need to remind ourselves that um, you know, there will be an end to this. There will be an end to this. I know it seems like it's never going to end, but there will be an end to it. And we can take some deep breaths. We can pray. We can read our Bible and make sure that you understand that sometimes you're only afraid because you are choosing that fear. You have a choice to get that power over your fear, right? Remind yourself, those of us coming from Liberia, we have gone through worse situations. And if you're not, I'm pretty sure there are situations in your life that has been a challenge. So remind yourself that I have gone through worse and I have been fine through it, right? So we want to find the opportunity to look for the positive within things. What are the facts? Again, what are the thoughts? Does my facts fit with what's happening? Very important. Do they fit together? If my facts and my feelings and my thoughts are not going hand in hand, something is off. So let's find what's off, right? Let's find what's off and let's shift that mindset. Let's change that mindset. We want to be able to change and to shift the mindset. So, gain control of your mind is one way that we can shift the mindset. Making sure that you are being creative in anything that you do. Some people are exercising during this time. If you are not able to go for a walk, you can do some walking exercises at home. You can dance, you can jump around, anything that is going to take your mind off of what's happening as a distraction. Creativity enhances your ability to problem solve. So, as the alpha brain, that brain that is front and center, it increases your ability to be more peaceful and to create a more peaceful well-being. So we want to engage in creativity. Many times you will hear therapists tell you connect with your creative side. We are not just saying that because we want you to write a journal or want you to draw or paint. There is actually research behind creativity and how it transform bring your mind to a peaceful state. So it's very important that during time of crisis, after you have problem solved with those steps I gave you, engage in some creativity. Never feel that you are out of control. So, what do? Allow yourself to relax and choose yourself to terminate those negative thoughts absolutely out of your mind. You have the power to do that. Sometimes you look in the mirror and you say, you know what, devil, not today. This is not staying with me. That's because you are trying to take away those negative thoughts. You are trying to terminate those negative thoughts and to experience the positive that you have. So make sure that, of course, you are learning to recognize the stressors, the tensions that are coming your way. When it starts to build up, there is a book called The Body That Keeps the Score, and it tells you how we keep tension within our body. Pay attention to your body. It said in your neck, it said in your back, it said in, your palm, your hands are tight. What do you feel? Is it your legs? Is it your stomach? Your body will tell you when all of these tension points are trying to come. So you need to be able to pay attention to where your body is keeping tension. Some people keep it here in the neck, and the neck starts to hurt a whole lot. And you don't pay attention to that. You feel it here, or this is a very common spot that most people hold tension, but we also hold it in our lower back. Okay. Sometimes you may have excessive lower back pain. You want to pay attention to that if you are holding tension in your lower back. What about your knees? You may be holding tension in your knees where you have weak knees when something happened. We know that the way that we respond to stress, right? That fight, flight, or freeze, which is the body natural way of responding to stress, to threats, stressful situation. And some people, they may have that instant bowel movement where they go to the bathroom or they have to pee. All of that is a natural way the involuntary nervous system respond to it. So finding a way to stay calm, right? In all that you do, your surroundings, if it is some relaxing music, whatever it is to help you to relax is effective. So, positive effects of that relaxation, you can experience it immediately. Many times we teach people to take a deep breath. We may joke around and say, woosah, but it works. Take some deep breaths. Inhale, exhale, inhale slowly through your nose. Hold for 4. Exhale for 4. Inhale through your nose slowly. 4. Hold for 4. Release for 4. So as you do it, you want to feel it in your diaphragm. We don't want to feel it here where you are doing shallow breaths. That's shallow breaths. It's not going to help your body relax. So we want to be able to take it from your stomach, pull it through your diaphragm. So everybody who practices this, of course, some people will tell you, "Oh, it's difficult for me," because your mind is not into it. You need to be able to relax, having a positive attitude, letting go of everything. Relaxation takes an effort. And failure to do that means that, of course, you are not practicing the skill through the effort. So, if you are allowing your body to go through the relaxation, retraining your body to recognize the differences between tension and relaxation, that's why it's important. Your brain remembers. So, when you start to take those slow, deep breaths, your heart rate starts to go down. Your brain now register that, oh wow, doing these breaths is actually bringing my heart rate down. So you are shifting, and your mind now recognizes that I can move from tension to relax. And it's so important to do that during a crisis situation. There's lots of research that supports relaxation techniques extensively. So it works. Don't tell people that it doesn't work. It works for pain, it works for stress, it works for medical condition. It has shown, and it has been shown to clearly affect people and give a sense of peace in letting go, to clean your mind, to allow your mind, your body to assess some level of stress and release tension. So it's almost impossible for you to think negatively if your brain is focusing on relaxing, because the blood that is taken to flow, to help you to think, to relax those muscles, your brain is not going to be double time stressing. Why? It can only do one thing. So it's going to leave the other, which is the tension, and it's going to move towards relaxation. And that's what we want during the time of practice. So we want to be able to practice this so that you can become better at it. When you find yourself in a crisis, you can utilize it just like that, right? You want to be able to create a scene, a situation where you can practice it similar to exercises. We want to be able to practice the exercises as well. And then you want to set some goals. When it comes to learning to cope and positive coping mechanism, we want to be able to set some goals, some think good, feel good goals, right? What are some successful goals? So I said before, we want to remind ourselves that I've gone through this before. So what did I do the last time I went through this? How do I reestablish my normal routine? So I wake up in the morning, I start with my devotion, I start with prayer, I read my Bible, or maybe I meditate a little bit and then I get into my routine. I drink coffee, I whatever we do to kind of help us with our daily routine. And then we set priorities, right? So I have this to-do list of things that I will do that demands my time and my energy. So I'm not focusing on my stressors because I now have other things to focus on. I have already set up a routine where I got to do this, I got to do this, I got to do that. So in the event where my mind is wandering to, oh my God, I have to put on the news. Well, I don't have time to watch all of this right now. I have these things I need to do. So this is taking up my time and my energy. It helps accomplish your tasks. It helps you to to be focused on those important things and be mindful on the here and now, and it helps you to experience that sense of being while you are working on your goals. So we want to make sure that those goals are durable and that they are durable in a time frame. We don't want to overburden ourselves and set unrealistic goals. Making sure that those goals are important to you. We are not just creating a list because you want to be distracted from what's happening, but make sure that whatever you are setting, those are things that are important to you and that is going to help you along the way to accomplish what it is that you need to. So make sure those goals are important, meaningful, realistic, achievable, specific, written, measurable, activity based, put a time frame on it, and also demanding as well. Um, Making sure that we want to problem solve. This is the biggest part of this. Coping requires problem solving. If you are not able to solve the problem of what's happening, when we are stressed about events, we are unable to really uh, provide good problem solving. So we can either see no solutions at all, where we feel stuck, or we can make steps to solving the problem. And we can follow those steps no matter what we do. We can follow those steps. So following that plan kind of give us better results that we want. So define the problem. What is the meaning of the problem? Can I change the way that I see this problem? So for example, I may see this problem as huge. So now when I change the meaning of this problem, I don't see it as so big anymore. So now I recognize how I feel about this problem. I feel overwhelmed. And because I feel overwhelmed, it looks so big to me. I need to consider all the possible solutions, all the possible ways that I can solve this problem. I need to arrange my solution, create a list, and consider all of the positive outcomes that I can get out of this problem because I want to problem solve. I want to find a solution. I don't want to be stuck in what's happening. And then I want to communicate. I want to be able to communicate those solutions with whomever I can around me that I can help to help me solve those problems. So I want to be committed, develop that clear, healthy relationships. Of course, I want to make sure that I'm communicating all of those expectations of my help for my support system. We need to invite people within our lives that can help us. I know it seems very obvious. Many times we say we want to make sure that people are not able to help us because we're afraid. I don't want them knowing my business. I don't want them in my business. But social support is so important because it gives us encouragement, it gave us practical help and solution. It gave us positive feedback. It gave us rewards, understanding, and caring for others. And we become role models, and others are role models for us. So finding that close, confidence, friend, spouse, healthy relationships that you have been into, knowing where to go is important. I think many times we are afraid to seek help because we don't trust people. So knowing where to go for your social support is so important. Creating a network of people that you can trust, whether it is family, friends, healthcare workers. People support matters. No man is an island. No man live alone. No matter how much you think that going through your situation is alone is going to help you solve your problems, sometimes for a time being it does, but majority of the time, just speaking to a friend, a sister, a loved one, a co-worker that you trust goes a long way. Many sociologies studies have shown that it's important to get others involved in our stressors, right? Our, of course, things that are happening because they may always provide like a healthier perspective. Now, if you know you're dealing with somebody who's not going to give you a healthy perspective, you don't want to deal with that person. So based on that, we want to be able to engage and find and know where to get the social support. Now, there is many risks when it comes to finding social support that threat to self-esteem. So many people don't want to do it because of embarrassment, fear of being seen as dependent on other people, possibility of being rejected. They have that guilt, maybe the possibility of losing their confidentiality, but offering support to other people and receiving and accepting it as well can be a gift. Don't be afraid to take that gift. And finally, a healthy lifestyle, nutrition, resting. We need to be able to exercise, trust God, forgiveness, right? Exercise, nutrition. Find something to laugh about. Life is not all uh, lemons, right? Let's find something to make us laugh. We need to rest. We need to find hope. We need to trust ourselves and others. Exercising, like I stated before. Now, as you turn the TV on and looking at everything that's happening collectively, nationwide in the United States, and even in our home of Liberia, worldwide, with everything that is happening, it is easy to lose faith in God. So connect with your spirituality, connect with God, making sure that a simple prayer, an attitude of gratitude. Many times people are afraid to be grateful because they feel that if I'm grateful, it takes away the reality for what's happening. That's not true. You can still take a pause and be grateful for what you have right now, even for what you're going through. The Bible says, in everything give thanks, for this is the will of God in Christ Jesus concerning you. So you have to trust yourself. Know that when you are stressed out, you need to be able to find your body where the tension is. Touch whether it's that cheek. Tell yourself, I feel it. I know I'm stressed. I understand it. I love myself. Find those core values that you can hold on to help yourself go through this process. Remember, there is help out there. You do not have to struggle alone. You can find a way, a different path to managing your stress, to coping with anxiety, to coping with hardship, to coping with crisis. Love is a strength. Love is also healing. Understanding that you can live today as full as you can, your life can be lived to the fullest as you can. If every day is lived that way, then you would have done many things, such as trust your sense of self. When you are tired, get some rest. When you are overwhelmed, take a break. When you need to be energized, act on it. When you need to rest your thoughts, shift your thinking, do so. When you need to trust yourself, know that you will be at peace. Remember, it takes joy to find hope, your sense of control, and your coping. Remember that you can hear, but you will forget. You can see and you will remember. You will do and you will understand. And whatever you practice, you will master it. So these coping skills that I have shared with you today, for anybody who may be going through some difficult time, adversities within their lives, they may be going through some crisis, or may have experienced crises, or may know somebody who is going through crises. I hope that you can take a minute, an hour to listen to this live, share it. And I thank you for joining me. I thank you for participating in the Friendly Counselor Live tonight. If you need to follow me on Facebook, please find me on the friendlycounselor.com on Facebook. If you have not follow my page, make sure you follow me for daily postings and to be on alert for more live such as this. Thank you for connecting with me tonight. I appreciate you spending the time with me. As always, I am Dr. Quita Weir Roberts. I am a licensed professional therapist in the state of Maryland. I have a practice in the state of Maryland, and if you need professional help, you can always email me, text me, send me a message on Facebook. I will be sure to respond to you. Take care of yourself. Take care of your mind. See you next time.